costumes can be winners, especially when they are competing with a classic like Spider-Man's red and blue or Spider-Man's black and red. But which are the worst? While Spider Armor MK1 might look a lot better today in its modern iteration, initially when it debuted in Web of Spider-Man issue number 100, it looked honestly pretty goofy. It's giving tinfoil vibes to me. Tinfoil armor, which might actually be what it's made out of, at least in part, as Spider-Man refers to it being made out of a material that is known as being pseudo-metallic, which sounds like it's not really made out of any true steel or like any other real metal. Pseudo means imitation, basically, something that's not genuine, and metallic just means resembling metal, so I'm not surprised this suit was initially shattered in its first incarnation. Rest in peace, pseudo-metallic aka tinfoil suit. Pretty sure it's tinfoil. Pretty sure. What is happening with some of these suits in Spider-Man 2? I really want to like the hair poking out here, and honestly I do love that Miles' hair is dyed red for this look, but at the same time, why does it look like the suit is just perfectly cut and molded still? Like, it looks like someone went in Photoshop, right? And they had the full mask, they had the full head. They literally removed the top of the mask, the top of his head. The lines are just too sharp, and the mask does not look like it is properly formed to his head. It literally looks like he's wearing Lego hair a little bit. But aside from the hair rant, which, let's be honest, that's most of my point here, and I'm gonna talk about it probably again, to be honest with you. I'm not sure how I feel about this look when it comes to just even the shoes. Why are the shoes always throwing me off with Miles' look? I mean, a lot of the times I get stuck on the shoes. This is Miles Morales' red Spectre suit, by the way, from Spider-Man 2 on PlayStation, and I don't know how I feel about it. Other than I simply don't like it. I want to like it, but I just can't. Just what is even going on in Spider-Man right now in the comics? What is happening? Someone help me. Part of me wants to read and like find out, and then the other part of me is honestly a little too scared to read and find out. I'm a little nervous. This new suit of Peter's though, an Amazing Spider-Man, which will make its first appearance in ASM issue number 53 this summer, or just before, presumably, based on the cover for issue number 53, and honestly there's a cover, I think it's for issue 52, it's like the costume is teased, but then issue 53 we already have the cover for, so I don't know. This costume though, it seems to give us a sense at least for some of the story behind it, and I'm not sure that I like it. The solicit for this issue also gives me more details that I'm not sure how I feel about. The solicit reads, Peter Parker is the Spider-Goblin. Peter Parker carries the weight of Norman Osborn's sins and takes to the skies as Spider-Goblin. How do I feel about this? How do you feel about this? Ugh, this one just feels kind of garish to me. Now I understand what it's trying to do, I kind of respect what it's trying to do, but like the suit that we just touched upon, this one just feels a bit too showy for my taste, I'm gonna be real. We're talking here about Peter Parker's smoke and mirrors suit. This suit design is of course based off of the famous Spider-Man villain Mysterio's look, but what works for Mysterio doesn't necessarily work for our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in terms of style, in my opinion. The glass smoky helmet really throws me off with this one too, as every time I look at it, it just makes me feel like super detached from the character. I keep forgetting that it's like an actual head. Keep being like, oh, why isn't Peter wearing it though? I mean, where is Spider-Man's face here also? Even with him being in it, how does he see? Style 1, in terms of color, being mainly white with sort of black and gold accents, just makes me straight up think of the White Ranger from Power Rangers. Now granted, I like Power Rangers, okay? But I don't need to be reminded of the Power Rangers when I'm playing a Spider-Man game. To me that feels kind of weird. I will say the problems this suit has are kind of the opposite of the next one on our list though, which is gonna go in a bad way in a totally different direction. This suit being inspired by the Miles Morales The End comic doesn't make it any better in my opinion. It works better in the comic in terms of what it represents, but on its own it isn't really cool enough to spark love for this look just deep within myself on style alone. The End comics are basically multiversal and hypothetical ending stories for our heroes if you've had not gotten into them before. Some of these stories are good, some of them are bad, and some of them are just like kind of meh. For me, Miles' The End was just kind of meh. This look also evokes a similar vibe for me. It's kinda meh. In the comic, at least we get to see an older Miles don the suit, but even then it's just a pretty basic look. Camo pants over Miles's black and red spider suit with black and red matching boots and a hooded leather jacket. I just wish there was a bit more to it, as it feels like a little too casual for my tastes, but I don't know, maybe when you get older you're like, time to get more casual in my superhero attire. Simply put, there are too many lines for me when it comes to this suit and its look. It's just a lot of a lot. We're talking here about the Secret War Spider-Man suit that appears in the Spider-Man 2 PlayStation game. Now I do like the colors, the blue and black anyways, but I'm not sure how I feel about those red lines though even, like, I don't know. One of the few suits from Miles where everyone else's issues with it is not my issue with it. When it comes to the evolved suit from Spider-Man 2 for PlayStation, a lot of people out there take issue with the branded Adidas sneakers. Now a lot of people were not happy with these, feeling that Miles' appearance and sweet kicks in the game were made to target a teenage audience, and that offended people. For some reason. Something many fans felt didn't really exist for these games, I guess. They were like, there is no teen audience, how dare they? And they thought therefore it was silly. Although to be honest, I know people of all ages who love Spider-Man. I think that his shoe choice is actually less about targeting teens, in my opinion, and it's just more about reflecting kind of like Miles' style. And while normally I'm not a fan of a superhero sneaker look, even with Miles, I think in this case, Miles actually pulls it off with this suit. Now my issue here though is once again, the hair poking out of the top. Like I said, I don't mind the hair itself. I actually think that's a cool style choice, but just the way it looks, like there's something off about the way they did it. It looks like the top of the mask was clean cut away and is like stiff. Or like Miles' head is weirdly blocky. If it's a spandex style mask, shouldn't the part where it's open like squeeze tightly to the top of Miles' head and then the hair comes out of that? It feels like it should just be a little bit more rounded there, and yet it's just like weirdly stiff and straight at the part where the mask meets the hair. I don't like that. I've talked about this next look before on the channel, and of course, as it was a look created to coincide with and celebrate Miles' 10th anniversary as a character, it appears also in the Spider-Man 2 PlayStation game. As I've said before, and I'll say it again, I'm not a big fan of this look. Chiefly, I think it's like the super tight fitting leggings with just the big oversized hoodie. It's a vibe, but it's just not one that I'm feeling for Miles. Maybe on another character I might like this better, but it just feels like it doesn't really fit here. Aside from that, I'm also just not a big fan of the chonky kind of sneakers and like the long neck of the hoodie, which zips up to cover the lower half of Miles's already masked face. I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way. Why are team-up comics always the ones with weird outfits for Spider-Man? It's like he teams up and he needs to get a suit to match that comic, to match that team-up. In this case, actually, that is exactly what seems to be happening with Spider-Man's Cyborg Suit, which first appeared in Spider-Man issue number 21. You might even be able to guess which Marvel character he is teaming up with in this issue just by looking at his outfit. Now, if you guessed Deathlock, ding ding ding, you would be right. Don't worry though, this Cyborg look is just in fact a modified version of Spider-Man's suit. He doesn't really get a cybernetic arm to replace his human one. Instead, this is a special metal cast which allows him to maintain the functions of his arm while it heals at an accelerated rate. Apparently, according to the issue. The Electro-Proof suit is an insulated suit that Spider-Man wears in issue number 425 of Amazing Spider-Man, and it is a wild one. It is a wild suit, and it is also a wild issue if you haven't read it. Now, this was at a time where Electro had beefed himself up in terms of his powers, essentially becoming what he'd describe as an electric god. This is also when Electro had pierced ears, by the way. What a great look. Well, the suit that Peter wears here doesn't look all that great. I am glad that it led me to this issue, as I kinda love how just like super 90s this issue is. It led me to a time that I didn't know I needed in my life right now, a time when Spider-Man and X-Man Nate Gray were besties just teaming up in New York, and I'm kind of here for it. In this issue, Spider-Man even kind of saves Nate, although Nate pays him back by saving Spider-Man later on, so don't worry about that. But Nate in his fight against Electro is surprisingly not doing so hot. Yeah, at one point he almost gets like completely KO'd by Electro. It's bizarre. That's just how crazy Electro is in this issue. To help combat the sheer power of his electric touch, Spider-Man gets himself an insulated suit to go over his standard suit, which basically looks like it was made out of patio chair cushions and rubber tubing to me. Which, in Peter's defense here, could make good last minute insulation materials, to be honest. I don't know. Science. Maybe. Science? That's about it. I've been your host Amanda McKnight. Until next time, you stay nerdy. Bye!